to see, you know?
Are we live?
There we are. Good deal. Scooting back. Getting ready.
I feel very serene tonight.
You do?
I do.
Turn that off. There we go. Now we won't be sounding so weird on this stuff. We got some people tuning in. See about 6.
You want to hand me the
Heyo.
stuff?
I guess we can.
Oh, is that table?
Yeah. Table. Running around.
Feng Shui.
What's up, Kyle? What's up, Kyle?
Every week.
Every time.
Whoa, did you see that? I like changed the color of the room when I got up. That's kind of crazy.
We went down in quality just a bit, but technology sometimes when you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to learn it, like I am, gets a little tough. It's a little tough.
Oh, you guys, I'm so tired. It just really hit me.
It happens.
Whew.
It
Who
does
is
indeed happen.
tired? Anybody? Wednesday slump? Hump day, as they call it.
Wednesday slump?
Yeah.
Wednesday's hump day.
I know, that's what I just said.
Wednesday slump.
Who remembers that Geico commercial? Hump day!
Mike.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. Where did that go? Gotta pull that back up. I don't know what
Where
happened.
did what go?
This.
Oh, you guys.
There it is. She's just yawning a little bit. That's okay.
But I made tea, so maybe that'll warm me up.
Warm you up?
Yeah, like
You
warm
mean
me
wake
up.
you up?
No, like warm me up to conversating. I don't know, is that a thing? I think I just
Possibly.
made that up. Peyton feels me. She knows what's going on. Thank you, Peyton. Yes, Shannon. What else did he say in that commercial? It's like,
Mike.
no, what else did he
That's
say?
all I remember. Hump day! That's what I remember.
He's in the movies, I remember that. I just think that anytime that animals do people things, I think is so funny. Like any of the Chick-fil-A commercials, but there's one in particular that I think is so funny. And they're like a street band and the cows are playing the trumpet and they're so bad and it's just like and it flashes to a little girl's face and she just is like, it's really funny. Wait, I'm gonna try to look it up and post it in the chat because it's so good.
Heyo! This only got like 6 people tonight, which is crazy. It's exam time, I think.
Okay, so what is it called?
I don't remember.
Chick-fil-A commercial cow music. This is it, you guys.
They can't see it.
Oh, right. You're welcome, you guys. Anytime you want a good laugh, just look at this. You're welcome. Hey, April. Oh, it's so funny. I want to watch the rest of it. Oh man.
Might be low on the viewership tonight.
See, maybe I just know that
It's okay.
it's like AP time, and that's why I'm so tired. I vicariously. That's not the right word because I don't want to take AP. Because
No.
vicariously means like you want to, right?
You vicariously live.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. Phil's doing one of my pet peeves right now. So, one of my pet peeves that he does is when I am trying to talk to him and he looks at me with eye contact, but he's playing guitar and he's somewhere else totally. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's having a full conversation with me, agreeing with me. And then I ask him, hey, remember when we talked about blank? And he's like, no, we never talked about that.
This is why. Holly says, hey, twice! Oh, man.
Peyton, isn't it so funny? Oh, I love that commercial.
It's a good one.
I should watch it every day when I wake up because then I think I would just have a very positive and lighthearted day. I'm so excited for my tea. I don't want to burn my tongue.
Well, shall we get started? Or should we wait a couple minutes?
It's 9:07. I feel like we should get started.
So, tonight, if you didn't know this already, we are talking about diversity, which is pretty awesome. Yes, Peyton is indeed true. I indeed do play guitar and talk at the same time.
Just
and I don't remember.
rewind the video and you'll see.
But we are talking about diversity tonight, which is really, 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 really important. And kind of coming off of our racism talk from last week, we are actually going to be phoning in a friend. I figured out all the tech. It took me a long time. I should have phoned Brandon. I know it, but this is what I chose to do. I was trying to figure it out on my own for once, and it took a while. But we're here, so hopefully you'll be able to hear him, and we'll be able to get through to him and all that. But in any case, we'll be calling him around 9:30. So we'll be doing a little less of actual singing tonight because we just feel like this conversation, and we want to give you guys the opportunity, to ask questions and ask him about diversity, because it's and not even just for the sake of diversity. I would say it's what we feel like the kingdom of God is like, and God imagines is us being of all different races and colors and stages of life and backgrounds and beliefs and all of that, and that's what the kingdom looks like. And my friend Kyle, just so you know, he just is something he's really pursued in his life is diversity, and he does it well, and he's called me out on my own lack of diversity, which is kind of what led to our next conversation. And I can't say that we necessarily are still great at it, like we're still kind of wrestling through that and figuring out how to pursue it. But it should be really interesting. I'm really excited. I highly encourage you guys to ask questions. So, oh no, Natalie, it's taking forever to load. Is it taking forever to load for you, or is it just like a tech problem? I hope it's not. It's not us. Really
Well,
hope.
I put my phone number in the chat in case you guys have a question, but you don't want to ask it publicly. So I'll have my phone right by me, and I won't say who's asking the question.
All right, you want to go to the third chord chart, which is right next to Chick-fil-A commercial band, which is one that you absolutely love. All right, here we go. So, same thing. Spread out in your room if you want to. Get some free space. Move around. Get ready to go. Get yourself in the heart and mindset of worship. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my turn till I called my name. I ran out like rain, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Woo! Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. So the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, a lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, There's no wall you won't kick down, a lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. This is the garden, here in the place I find you close. This is communion, here in the place I'm fully known. It was all so simple, it was easy to love, and no space between us, it was easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing. He's where the dead things come It feels so good to know you are my friend. Let me pray for us. Lord, may this conversation be fruitful for us. May help us, God, to understand where we've done wrong and where we're not seen. Expose the things in our hearts that need to, especially when it comes to racism. Bless this conversation. Amen. If you could go down to Zoom for me. Yeah. And then hit start.
And then what?
Join with computer audio.
Video?
Start video. Yep. And then let me gotta figure this out. We're just getting everything set up. Oh, awesome. And then output. There we go, because we gotta be able to hear Kyle.
I agree, April. That song is so good.
Oh,
And
we love it, man.
Holly, I agree. Maverick City is awesome. I had no idea who they were until a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and
Yep.
Phil showed me them.
Which,
Oh my gosh.
man, they're awesome. And I think Holly was the one who showed me them before that. Something like that. Make sure that Kyle is good, and we're gonna jump onto that in a second.
So as he's coming on, are there any worship songs that you guys are wanting to worship to on, it seems like such a weird way to say that, but if maybe a worship song is connected with you, or maybe it's not a worship song and it still has connected with you, maybe
Here we go.
Arm and Hammer.
Kyle is a trip, man. All right, here we go, y'all.
Hilarious.
What's up,
Kyle!
There he is, man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I kind of got a whisper, you know.
Because of the baby. We're in a separate room, so like we can talk a little bit like at our
I was thinking about if how you guys would do it, you know, but because Roman, he like if Amber leaves the room, he goes nuts. Like he's just not at that stage. So apparently, Nora, she sleeps on her own now, right?
Yes, sir.
She does, but I will say that she has been going through really thick separation anxiety right now. Hi,
really?
Kyle. I feel like I haven't seen her talk to you in so long.
Yeah.
You made another human from the time I saw you. It's crazy.
It's working though. It's working. At
How
this
old
point,
is he
it's
now?
still working.
It's still working.
Yeah.
He's 6 months, right? 6 months?
Yeah, it'll be 7 months on the 6th. So,
Wow.
Man.
yeah, but y'all look good.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
We're trying.
Yeah.
You know. Working
Y'all
out.
trying. Y'all doing more than trying. So, how's this supposed to go?
Well, hey, man. Well, you're live right now, just so you know. Like, so we're on.
Oh.
Yeah. we're on YouTube live, so are you getting in
Don't
here?
say anything too crazy.
Yeah. Just don't talk about Michigan, and we'll be good. You know, keep it clean.
Oh, yeah. You don't talk about Nebraska. Matter of fact, wait, Casey, you're Texas A&M.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
man. You remembered. Way to go.
I feel like one of our players just left and transferred there.
Really?
One wide receiver. No, he transferred to Texas.
Yeah, definitely different school and definitely our rival.
Way worse.
Way worse.
Way worse.
Way worse. All right. So.
But no, man, I just wanted to say how I knew you, and like Kyle and I met, you know, at Credo Coffee Shop where Casey used to work, and we kind of hit it off because he came in wearing Michigan stuff, and I had to make fun of him. And I said, "What's your prognosis for the season?" He said, "National championship," and they didn't win, so I was right, needless to say. And we kind of hit it off, and then he was I can't remember where we were. I think we were on vacation in a couple other places, and he kept giving me a hard time, going like, "Man, look at all those white people." I'm like, what do you mean? Look at all those white people. He was giving me a hard time. And then I felt genuinely convicted. I was like, you know what? Let's sit down and have a conversation about this. Because I don't know how to be diverse in my life, clearly. And I need to work on it.
4 years to have that conversation, or 3 years?
No. It wasn't that long. It was maybe a year. It was maybe a year and a half, truthfully.
I think, was that when we were at New Room?
It was when we were in New Room. We went to Hawaii. When it was like
several.
It was like several places that we went to, and Kyle was being.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There was a lot of white people.
See.
That. I remember.
Being super honest with us, which was
like not one brown person.
Which so Kyle called me out on it, and we sat down and had a conversation. So I was like, man, teach me, please teach me, because I think Kyle does it well. And I remember one of the first things you said to me, because I was like, so how do I do this? Like, I'm not, like, I don't have colored skin, so I don't know how to like feel what somebody else feels when it comes to racist comments or oppression, or like, I don't know what that's like. And so how do I do that? And I remember you said, man, it starts with a meal in your home. It starts with a meal in your home, and it starts for getting people at your dinner table, and it doesn't end there. It's doing life with them every single week, and so they become your people. I just remember that so clearly.
I just got done watching. There's this professor out of the University of Mississippi. God, I cannot remember his name right now, but one of the things he said that really stood out to me about why diversity, but specifically hospitality is where it kind of started. He said it was important, but he was saying that the relationship, like the act of inviting someone into your home that's not like you, is a sign that says to that person that they matter, right? And so you make them instantly feel valued, and you sit at that table. And he just used the example of just having a meal, but the purpose of the meal is to bring people together, is to bring people together, to have a conversation, to break bread. But then it's through that conversation and that relationship that it starts to form and create, that ends up causing each individual to care about each other and to listen to each other's stories. And through that process, you start to advocate for the injustices that individual may experience in their lives, right? And so because you're my friend, if I see an issue that affects people like you, I care because you're my friend now, right? And vice versa. And as a result, he made the connection that hospitality is the conduit to justice, right? That justice is served through hospitality, and that's where it starts. And you can't get any more biblical than that, right? Like inviting someone into your home and doing life with them.
Man, that's super good. Man.
Yeah. I didn't break it down like that for you. Like, I didn't make that up, so I don't want people to think I'm smart, but I'm just good at remembering how people articulate something.
It doesn't matter, man. It does not matter. It's still good, I just realized the picture is really small on YouTube, but that's okay. No big deal.
It is, yeah.
It was, but I fixed it.
You fixed it.
I did. You were about this big.
And I'm really not that big in real life, I'm not this big. I'm like this big.
Crazy. So I didn't know if you wanted to share anything about yourself, Kyle, because my students are tuning in right now, and some adults from our church and volunteers and staff. So you just go.
I mean, the easiest place to start is just kind of like, what do I care about? And because what I care about is the banner that I fly over my life, and I use it in order to navigate where I go. So what I care about is helping people find and fearlessly move into the power of their unique story. That purpose, or that banner, which I call a purpose, it's just formed by just taking a backwards look at my life and really examining the good places, the hard places, the people, gifts and talents, and saying, okay, like how do I go about this life? Like, what's the purpose of this life? How am I supposed to be living out this life for the benefit of God and people He cares about, right? And so that banner flies there, and then it helps filter my work. So Obviously, I'm well, not obviously because people don't know me, but I'm the program director of Rally, which is a social enterprise accelerator that's just helping early stage entrepreneurs take ideas and existing work and transform them into sustainable ventures that create positive social change. And so, these are societal issues that affect like hunger, poverty, homelessness, things like that. And there's entrepreneurs out there who are really trying to tackle these tough problems. And so, how am I helping people find and fearlessly move into a power of their unique story? Is that this program is designed to put resources around people to help them move into that story very powerfully. I have a co-working space where we convene people, and in there, my whole role is to create a safe community where that's a diverse community that's safe, that people who can express and learn and come alongside of people, and as a result of that, we believe that their lives and work will get better as a result of that. But it all starts with a relationship and resisting being transactional. And so, once again, that informs how I'm helping people find and fearlessly move into the power of their unique story, because they're people who are trying to live out aspects of their lives, right? And then, there's other things that I'm involved in and stuff, but whether it's, education, and I mean, I do a ton of work. So, but I mean, that's basically, I'm from Detroit / Virginia. My story is really weird. I grew up poor. I grew up in poor and wealthy neighborhoods, which is weird. I went to an all-male white military academy that was in the South and had roots in the Confederacy. I've experienced that. I've been to an all-black college where I graduated from Bethune-Cookman, so I've been in that environment. And then I've been in a larger environment where it's more diverse, like the University of Michigan. Sorry. But I mean, look, I've been around a second, so it's hard to like sum everything up into one story.
Right.
On this call, I will buy a book, I will write a book and send it to all you people. They can buy it if they choose to.
That's awesome. Are you really gonna write one?
No.
Come on, man. Come on. I'd read it.
I would read it, and I'm not even a reader. I would read it.
No, I'd rather forget just reading. Let's just do life together. We just naturally learn each other's stories, right?
So
the book is the easy way out.
The book is the easy way out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to all these different like writing, or what are they called when like authors go to bookstores and like read aloud, whatever it's called. Like
yeah.
And I'm gonna tell them like, you're taking the easy way out.
Right.
Kyle Steele said this. And throw you under the bus.
Yeah. So maybe I should write one day, but I don't have the time right now with a new baby.
Oh, don't have to tell us.
Yeah, not at all.
Yes.
So you said or relayed that hospitality is the conduit to justice, which I think is really powerful, and it's simple yet powerful. But I find myself just still being in white circles primarily, and I don't know how to meet people. Like, I have very little time, like you were just saying, and when we go to church, our church is primarily white. And so how do you even meet people that are just different from you in every way and invite them over?
Yeah, so I think so one of the things I don't want to do is turn it into a process, right? Like where it becomes like a thing that people do that checks off boxes, and because those boxes are checked off, they say, okay, all right, everything's settled, right? Like I got the boxes checked. So I don't want to do that, but what I want to do is it's good when you do that, because it's important to you, right? And you understand the value that it brings, and so yeah, like there's people, all around who are in all black communities, all white communities, all Asian communities, all Hispanic communities, and they're in those communities, and those are comfort zones for them, and that I completely understand. Where you start to cross over is when you see value in crossing over because you have because it brings some kind of joy or fulfillment to your life. And so for example, with me, like, I grew up in all black Detroit, right? And then what ended up happening, I happened to move to pretty much all white Reston, Virginia. And that was a little bit of culture shock for me. But ultimately, I had these friendships that developed naturally. And so, so the question becomes like, how do you break that up? Part of it is, yes, you do have to step out of your comfort zone, but where I really wanted to start is just understanding the value of people. And so I think as Christians, one of the things that, and I didn't have this awareness when I was younger, but now I've thought about this, is that as Christians, we understand that God made all people and all people have value, right? And he did it that way for a reason. And in theory, like, we're all supposed to be together, right? So Acts, describes this, what the church looked like in the early days, where people came from all different places and all different races. And that's a very beautiful picture of the church, right? And so there's a very specific reason why he made us all different, right? He didn't make us all the same. And then when you think about, like, how they oftentimes describe the body, right? The church as a body, right? You think of a body, right? It has different parts: head, hands, feet, toes. Everything is different. Like, can you imagine a body walking around and just all hands, or it's all feet, or all heads? Like that would be terrible, right? And so there is beauty in being individuals and who we are, but then there's a very important piece of embracing the uniquenesses, because we need a hand. Without a hand, we can't do certain things. We need legs. Without legs, we can't do certain things. Like, our body, if you start separating the pieces out, are less efficient. So if the goal is to ultimately to say, hey, I see what God is doing. I see that he's created all these people and that they have value and worth, then what am I losing by not understanding that and not leaning into that, and not being happy about leaning into it? Because if you believe that God, the things that he does are wonderful and perfect and they're fulfilling, then you have to look at yourself and you have to say, man, like, if I'm around all hands, I'm missing out on something, right? And other people are missing out on something too, right? And so I really just think it starts with a conversation and just wrestling with that, and then just prayerfully asking that you recognize the beauty in his creation, you recognize all the uniqueness in his creation, and you recognize that you are kind of not in a situation where you can live into that fully. And so it's like, I don't know. It's just like that's just a very complicated. It's not like an easy antidote. Like, oh, go out and apply to all black college or HBCU, right? That just doesn't work,
right?
Because it'll feel forced. Like you,
right?
Like, so that's a tough question, but I think it starts with you recognizing value and the fact that God created all things and all things have value, and he created them unique, and that that you will want to lean into that. And so the opposite is that if you don't believe that, then what is it really saying to yourself when you start hanging out with only hands, right? Like, it's kind of like, it almost lends the question of, like, if you don't really lean into this and don't, and like, are you rejecting a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a very complex thing, and I don't know we're going to arrive to the answers tonight, but it's definitely worth a conversation.
It is complex.
Yeah.
It's crazy complex. Yeah. And I think it gets more complex in the church, unfortunately. And so trying to navigate that on our own, and like, how do we live differently? How do we? Because I think sometimes there's a mentality where it's like, well, we're open to it, so they can come to us, but I think that creates an opposite mentality. Like, Jesus didn't wait for people to come to him. Like, he was out. Like, he was going to everybody else. Like, he was going to the nations. But it's also not I'm going to go recruit this group of people and this group of people, so that, like, because the heart behind that can just be so weird. So it's like, how do you do that right? How do you do that well? I don't know.
I think it just becomes friends, right? Like it really is through the relationship, and it's not, hey, come to my church,
right?
Because I see you're black or whatever. It's like let's just become friends, and then naturally you just end up like, I don't go to your church because you live on the other side of the earth.
We live in Winter Park, okay? It is not that far.
Maybe 25 minutes from you, maybe.
Okay.
If so.
But I know for like Floridians, that could be like 2 hours away.
Yeah. Well, I go to Summit, and Summit is somewhat diverse, but I mean, definitely the church is losing something, I think, by not being diverse. Because there's something really beautiful in all different forms of worship. Like, I've been to worship in Sierra Leone. I've been to worship in predominantly black churches. I've been to worship in predominantly Vietnamese churches. I've been to worship in predominantly white churches. I mean, and it all looks so different, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not wrong. It's just the way that they express and they do their worship, right? And I think there's something really cool when you see that, and when other churches, so it's like, if you can bring all that together, like, what did worship look like in the first church? It's explained in Acts, right? Like, what did that look like? Having all kind of people, different languages, bringing all that together. So, I definitely do believe that the church is losing something. If churches, whether black or white or Vietnamese, like, if they're segregated, right, they're losing out on something. And we all know, I mean, the fact is that they always say that Sunday is the most segregated day in America, right? Because everybody's going to different churches that look like them. So just resisting that, taking small steps, whether it's bringing a choir maybe that into your church, inviting another choir that does, like, Summit does this. They'll take in, they have this, they'll bring in a choir from a black church or from Nairobi or whatever, or bring in another pastor, and it's really interesting when they do that. But their leadership is really, really intentional about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree, and I feel like it's almost the like antithesis. Is that the right word? Like, it's like the antithesis of this whole game plan that God kind of set out. Is that churches are so segregated, because that's not the intent at all. The intent is for us to be different and to look different and believe different things, but all find unity. Like, nobody ever said that the church had to agree on everything. We're all supposed to be these different.
I mean, as long as you believe that Christ died, he
right?
He was God. He came down as a human. He walked life. He went to the cross. He died. He rose. He ascended. Like, if you believe that, then we're good, right?
You want to go through like the whole doctrine, Kyle?
yeah. So it's like, okay, let's just start there, right? Like, if you believe that, then theology and things like that, then there's not too many crosses I'll die on except for those, right? Besides the basics, because there's different perspective on everything, and I'm not sure if one is right or more right than the other, right? Like, and there's things like predestination. I mean, people believe in it, some people don't, but like, I don't think someone's going to not be saved or not saved whether they believe in one or the other, right? We might find out that the answer is completely wrong when we get there, right? So, but yeah, you're right. Like, as long as we believe in the fundamentals, like, like, we are losing out on the nuances of how people interpret scripture and its application in their lives by not doing that. So.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is your experience, but I feel like the American church has become so heady and like so theological and have to think things through and have a plan, that there's a disconnect between this like right brain, emotive, kind of soul-based connection with God. And I'm wondering if it's because like the church is primarily like white in America, or at least the like Christian culture that's massively been putting out stuff is like it's all about what you think, and it's very heady and logical, and there's this disconnect. And I mean, do you feel that way or not really?
So I do enjoy theology, right? Like I enjoy getting down, and I think that stuff is necessary for people to discuss and have healthy discourse around things in scripture, right? And so I think that makes sense. It feels heavy to me. There's a segment of the church that feels heavy to me because it is taken on a political. It's put on a political skin, right? When really, like, politics should, like, nothing, no politics, politics should not trump what's in the gospel, right? Like, not at all, right? Like, the gospel is the gospel, right? And if it says that you should look out for foreigners or the orphans or widows and the least and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is what it is, and so we should be of a kingdom mindset first. But there does feel like there's a segment of the church that feels like it's not really navigating from that point. And so, I mean, but that's a whole other conversation. But it's interesting that now, like as we are in this post-COVID world, how church looks different. Like we have these big buildings that we built. And they're not being used; they're sitting empty. But church is still happening, right? So,
and I think what I was getting at too is like, it seems like there's a disconnect in recognizing the core of God's intention, that like what you were saying, everybody has value, and we're so caught up in I went to a seminary. Like, I totally think that I will sit down and talk about God and theology and all that.
Yeah.
But if you get stuck there and you kind of have your head and your heart split, where you find like your soul connected to another and find value and appreciation and compassion for all people, no matter what, even if they're different, I think that it just is so sad that is kind of where we find ourselves, you know?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. Like I get it. So here's a story. Right after the election, I was very upset at the outcome. But I wasn't like, oh, this is the end of the world, right? It was what it was, right? It was just this democracy playing itself out. I don't have any problems with that. The issue I had was that I was part of a Bible study, and I was the only black male. So all men's Bible study. I was the only black male in the Bible study, filled with white men, and I knew how most of them voted, and I struggled with that. I was like, how did they vote for this but still hold these things true? Like it felt very disconnected to me, right? And so one of the things I had to do was I wanted to leave the group, and that was my intent. I was going to leave. I was angry. I was going to leave the group, but I prayed about it, and the Lord was like, no, I need you to sit there and stay there. And that was very important for me to do that because ultimately what ended up happening is that we started to have these discussions about what should our politics be like, and I started hearing the views of these men and why they chose to vote that way, and then slowly the Lord started working with them in ways, and we end up having these rich discussions about. I saw some of these men transform in the way that they thought, and it was important that they heard how I felt, right? So they can start advocating for me, and so as a result of it, like I look at the group today, like there are men in that group who now are participating in very good discussions about racial reconciliation, race within the church, and trying to deal with that. But they would have never done that like prior to all of this, right? There now are 2 more black men in the group, And so yeah, like we still have this, and we often say it, like we have these different, like I know they have a different political view than me, but I don't, but they don't, but they have not lost value because of that. For me, and vice versa, right?
That's really
Like
good.
these are men that have been with me and have walked with me through hard times in life, and vice versa. And it's interesting that the only thing that allows us to stay together is really the gospel and our willingness to lean into it and struggle together in it, right? And so that's like an example of like how, like political views should not fracture Christian relationships, right? Like we can have different political views, but at the end of the day, like ultimately, like do we submit those views to what the gospel and God says, and that's the real question, right? And if we do, then we'll figure out a way that God will keep us together, right? Although we may have different political views, right?
That's really good.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I remind those dudes that all the time. I'm like, yo, like I almost left this group, right? Because I was like so angry at them. I was like, that, and what was happening is that they lost value. I saw them as like the enemy, and God was like, no, I need you to sit there, and that was tough for me because I was like, how dare you do this? Like, how do you? But to see the work that He's done with me and with them, like, it's really amazing because I chose to submit my political views and push them to the side because I chose to submit to what God was asking me to do, right? And they also, right?
Man.
So,
Somebody did ask a question. They want their question is diversity all positive, or is there anything negative associated?
yeah, it's negative. It becomes negative. Well, I mean, it becomes negative when you try to force it, right? Like, oh, let's just get diversity because we want to check off this box. The heart of it has to be pure. It's because you recognize that individuals who are different than you bring value, and as a result of that, like the collective work enhances as a result of it being diversity. So everybody benefits, right?
Right.
And so it's good. Yeah, it gets tough because you're bound to run into heavy conversations and have friction, right? Somebody says something, will say something that's offensive to you. Like I had someone who you guys know, but I won't go into it. But we're friends. We had to work through it. But he said something that he saw that was harmless, but it was very offensive to me. And he not only said it once, he said it twice because he thought it was funny. And so, like, I really struggled with that, right? But we had to have this hard conversation, right? And so that's what diversity looks like. It's when people have, like, they just don't know whether they're ignorant. They just don't know. Like, you're bound to have these conflicts that happen, but that's where all the growth happens. And so, yeah, it gets ugly because you're bound to say something or do something, or vice versa. Me, I'm bound to say something, do something that ultimately causes friction. But if we choose to sit in it together and work through it, because we recognize that each person has value, and we don't lose and we don't diminish that person's value on the other end, and we say, okay, let's work through it. There's opportunity for both of us to grow through this. Then you come out much stronger. So the individual I'm talking about, like, we're definitely much stronger now than we were before. Like we have a real relationship because we went through that struggle together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely
So
makes sense.
I think I'll ask one last question and then wrap up.
Sure.
So with your story and, well, I guess both of your stories, one of my questions is going to be, like, if you're a part of this institution wanting to change it from the inside and not just reject it, meaning the church, or if you're involved in politics, or maybe you're like a teacher in the education system, something like that, and you recognize that there is like systemic racism it's still a thing, and you want to be a part of the change that's happening while you're in it. It seems like that was kind of your story of you were losing value for these other, or you were seeing these other people lose value, but you found strength when you prayed about it and from God. And so how do you pray about that? Like, where does your strength come from in like rejecting apathy and really pushing towards seeing all people as valuable?
So yeah, I mean, I definitely like it's definitely prayer. It is because the situation I described previously, like when he said that, I was like, what? But then I really prayed about it, and and I think that the strength to do that is because my inclination would be like, oh, I want to punch you in the mouth. Like I'm a fighter, right? Like most people don't know this, but I am a fighter. Like I naturally,
I would have never guessed that about you.
Yes, I grew up fighting all the time. So
Still make stories.
people made me angry. I want to fight. So that was like my thing, right? But I got, I'm not like that anymore. Definitely not like that anymore. But that's my inclination. It's like I feel I want to rear up, right? And so. But that's just the brokenness in me and things that I have to deal with. And so for me, the first thing to do is just pause in those moments and actively pray about it and listen. And then once I get an answer to be responsive and obedient to it. So yeah, I mean, like that's kind of, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, I think you did. Just strength coming through prayer, and I think ultimately, like the Holy Spirit too is just working and helping you, and it's really beautiful to hear, like that group that you were a part of. There was a drastic transformation that was involved, and you got to witness that because God was asking you to stay. Yes. And had you have left because you wanted to do that, you wouldn't have seen that, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, and I would have never. We would have never like. They would have never been able to experience, to hear me say my story and why that hurt, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And for them to see that and witness it and to feel it, right? But the relationship, but that's what's working. But so not severing the relationship allowed that to occur, and vice versa. Like some of these men were like I don't get it. Like, well, you know, like, and so like I had to listen to them, right? And I saw the frustration around their head, and we started to have this conversation, and it became less about trying to correct the other person, but just listening, right? But then ultimately, you know, for the counterparts on that end, for my fellow, you know, white brothers and sisters, right? Like ultimately, it really becomes around understanding that you are here in America in a position of privilege, and so just accept that. Like that's you have privileges and that I don't have, and I have privileges that you may not have, right? Like even as a man and a woman, like I can walk through a garage and not feel fearful. That's the privilege of mine. Whereas you may feel that way, right? So the question is, what do I do with that privilege? And so if you're my friend, then I should use that privilege to benefit you. So if I see systematic racism or injustices, then I understand that I'm in a point of privilege where I may be able to help out in that. And that's what the real question comes down to for everybody out there listening. It's like, recognize that you have privilege. It's okay. You have white privilege. It's fine. But the question is, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And do you use it for good? You know, so like in my Bible study, we talked about this one verse in 1 Thessalonians was about like, what does faith look like when it's acted out? Well, one, it has a resolve for good. Two, it relies on the power of God to carry itself through. And then three, it ultimately glorifies who God is, right? And so when you're in a position of privilege, you know, so the question becomes, do you want to resolve to use it for good? Yes. Will it be hard? Yes, but you're going to rely on the power of God to do it and make that change and to carry you through. And then when you do, people will be like, wait, why isn't this person giving up? Like, why? What's happening? Then God gets the glory when it does happen, because most people would have given up because you relied on his power to resolve for good. That's it.
Mic drop.
That's it.
That's it.
It's done.
Oh man, Kyle, that's so good. thank you so much for calling in. That was just awesome.
Yeah, we gotta get our babies together.
I know. Well, after this COVID thing blows over.
What if they start liking each other and then we end up being like...
that would be a dream. Are you kidding me? You guys as in-laws, that'd
totally
be
okay
awesome.
Yeah, that would be so funny.
Why would it be funny?
I mean, it just, I don't know. It's funny in a cool way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Ironic funny, like haha funny.
Yeah, like,
I know what you mean.
Talked about it in 25 years from now or 30 years from now, like Nora and Roman are walking down the aisle together. It's like, what?
And you people heard it first. There you go.
Like, we came together.
That's one way to do it. Just marry him off. There you go.
Yeah, marry him off. Yeah. So no, this is cool. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I have one last thing. If you were to say to a teenager right now who's in middle school or high school and they're like their school is crazy diverse, but yet they don't know how to live outside of that, like a closing word, like how do they grasp that? How do they become diverse themselves while in their schools? When it's literally all around them, you know, like our schools are more diverse than our churches, so like how do they approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the answer feels like too simple because I'm almost like, well, just become friends, and then the question is like, how do you become friends with people? And you just do things with people, right? You just do things. If you do something with people, you'll just become friends, and so like. And it's scary, right? Like if I think of like in middle school, like you're just kind of socially awkward. It's just weird
all the time.
You know, you're super scared. You're just super scared. And so like, you know, how do you be intentional about that and not feel weird? But like, oh, you know, will you be my friend? Like you don't want to do it that way, right? What I think it feels like the best way to do it is like for me it was just through sports because that's what I played, right?
Right.
And so my friends, I played sports. We all played together. So they were white, Hispanic, Black, you know, and that's just how it is. So it's just like trying to find that one common denominator to do things with people, or to find groups that are just diverse and just do things with people, and inevitably just be open to a friendship. You know, just take those small steps. It's just baby steps, and you don't have to do it all. Like you don't have to figure it all out in middle school and high school, but at least be thinking about it.
Sure. And
by the time you're 30, you'll be you'll have a bunch of friends of all different colors. You know, like you're like, oh, you know, I mean, yeah.
Boom.
That's it.
No, I mean I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to put myself back in the middle school.
Yeah, it's hard. Middle school now is very different, man. It's very different compared to it's different. I mean, the social awkwardness is there, you know, like there's all of that and the identity, trying to figure out who you are, but the social climate's very different now. Yeah,
no, I believe you. Middle school is just, I mean, it is an awkward period, but yeah, I mean, if people are thinking about it, praying about it, I think that ultimately, and it's something that you really see, I think that God will honor that because he wants you to experience the breadth of the diversity that he's created, right? And so he'll honor that. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. So, you know, just pray on it, middle school kids. Seek it, you know, like if you really want it, just pray on it. Like he'll honor it, he'll give it to you.
Sure. Or high school, same.
Yeah, high school.
Different awkwardness. Right? There's a totally different type of awkwardness in high school. It's like, so different.
And Phil, you been in the gym, man? Look you got the guns out.
He looks good.
Right.
I always think he looks good. Then
I have not been in the gym, but I have been doing yoga 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah. This COVID thing, man. Today I didn't resolve that I gotta like get my eating habits in order. So, because it's like, how do you work out like as hard as I do and still gain weight? It's because I eat like I still play football, but I don't work out nearly as hard as I did. So, and I'm getting older, right? So I was like, man, like I took some pictures.
That's a triple threat right there. Getting older. Oh, and throw new dad into the mix. That's like a whole other thing.
Diet's out the window, I feel like.
Yeah, so I gotta get back on it, man, because I'm just like, my pants are a little too snug, and yeah, you know, your stomach starts rubbing against your belt. It's like okay, that's a problem.
This is a great way to end this conversation on diversity.
I
It's
love
getting a
it.
little weird. Anyway, all right, well, I look forward to seeing you folks soon.
For sure, man. Good to see your face. Thank you again for doing
Yeah,
this.
good to see your face, too.
Really, really appreciate it. Really, really, really do though. So, all right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, yes.
Bye,
What's
Kyle.
your plan? Boom.
Later, bro. Go back to this. There we go. Awesome. Well, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, and for those who ask questions and just listening. This is just a really big part of our hearts, and I think there's some truth to what Kyle said. If it's something that you're really trying to seek in your life and praying and inviting God into, I think he'll meet you there. And in fact, I know he will. We went through a season where we were thinking about doing a small group in our home, and we were just like, we don't want to do just a small group, you know. Like, we really feel like God is calling us to figure out how we can make it diverse, and we don't know how to do that. And so we were just asking God to send people to us, because we were just trying to do it in the right way. And then sure enough, like, our first Vessel small group, I feel like was pretty broad in terms of age, in terms of race, in terms of stage of life, in terms of all kinds of things. And it was truly a special time for that. I think it was like 8 or 9 months, where we had people in our home, and we were doing life with them, you know, every week, and they were doing things outside of that. And
Peyton was there.
Peyton
Shout out to
definitely was
Peyton.
there. Peyton was definitely there. Poor Peyton had just gotten off of work almost every time.
She was so tired.
And then, like, when it would hit like 9 o'clock, she's like,
I gotta
okay,
go.
see you guys. Just like clockwork, but she showed up faithfully. Anyway, anything else you want to say, babe, before we sign off? No.
I think that all of us can maybe do a better job. Specifically for me, it's a really good reminder that, like, on my own, I don't naturally think about pursuing relationships that are different. But with the help of the Holy Spirit, I think that passion is stirred up in my heart and my soul. I think even more. And I have a justice part of me that likes to stick up and give a voice to the voiceless, and use my white privilege, as Kyle said, but not really knowing how to do that. And so I think that I need to be more diligent about praying and asking God to reveal that, instead of me trying to muster up what that looks like.
I would also say that I think that I can speak for the millennial generation. Like, the millennial generation is very we tend to gravitate towards people who have like-mindedness a lot. That is very, like, something ingrained in our generation, which is not a bad thing at all.
Aren't they mostly Gen Z?
They are Gen Z. But for my generation, that's something we gravitate towards a lot. The word's still out on Gen Zers. We're not so
See,
sure.
April's totally a Gen Zer.
So it's almost countercultural in a way to break that. Like, you find people who are like-minded and like-hearted, and that doesn't always mean that they are. They might not always have the same experiences, life experiences, same skin color as you, same age as you, but you might have some sort of like-mindedness, which can be good in a millennial sense, but sometimes it gets a little construed, I think, at least in my generation, that I see, that I can speak for. And we want to spend time with those people who are just always like-minded, same political views, same Christian views, same views on education, like on music. And while those things aren't bad, I think, like Kyle said, like, God is calling us to be different. Like, and not everybody can be a hand, not everybody should be a foot. Like, we all have to be different parts. Like, we are different parts of the body for a reason. And while that might create friction, when you have things that you differ on some things, it's working through that friction to bring a deeper relationship together, which is hard. It's really hard, but it's worth it. It's completely worth it. So, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will not see you next week. We are just going to take a week off, so which is okay. But we will be back the following week. So we will see you all soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.